Hello, everyone. I'm Kelly Schockler, and I want to welcome you to the My Project Hell webcast, where for the next 20 minutes, we're going to try and do away with that old button-down corporate jargon and tackle issues in project management with real solutions for real project problems.
And I'm Paul Thompson. And in this episode, we're going to discuss a hot topic. And we're going to play a game we like to call Love It or Lose It. So join us. And as we go through this episode, I encourage you all to join in the conversation by using the chat. Share your thoughts, your ideas with everybody that's watching us live. And if you have something specific for Kelly and I to address, throw it in the Q&A. And if we have chance, we'll get to it, or we can always follow up later. Now, for everyone who is on the edge of their seats, Kelly, where are we going with today's hot topic?
Well, first, I want to know, Paul, your map background's missing. What happened?
Yeah, I'm on the road this week. So we spare nothing will keep us from My Project Hell, not rain, sleet, snow, or ice.
Yeah, we'll test that in a couple of weeks when I go up to Alaska.
There you go.
Anyway, let's get to our hot topic. I think it's an interesting one, and it's something that I've been hearing brought up in various project management circles of late, and the concerns are tinged with anxiousness over the fate of project managers everywhere. So here it is, Paul, the hot topic. Is the project manager becoming an endangered species? Is the role of the PM on its way out the door, soon to be relegated to the annals of project management history and dinosaur lore? If some of you do a lot of reading, like Paul and I do a lot of reading, maybe you've come across this idea where the project manager role is being parsed out and absorbed into product management and Scrum roles. So I've been getting asked quite a bit lately by some of my colleagues and some of my coaching clients on whether or not they should pursue more product owner and product manager training because project managers are disappearing. What do you think?
Well, since I don't see a meteor coming to hit the earth anytime soon, I'm going to suggest that despite everybody's thoughts on Scrum and all of those things, the work is still there. Because I think you bring it up that people address this from the Scrum Master does this, the product owner does that. You don't need a lot of things, right? You don't need anyone if you have engineers that can self-manage and come together and collectively put it all on paper. But typically you need someone, or you at least need to spread out that role across some folks. Which brings us to not a lot of places have people sitting around with not enough to do. So piling on to a manager who's already already at your organization, a multitude of other skills that's required might not be the most effective way to get things done. So while I can appreciate that people are always looking how to do more with less, the individual that owns the project and really takes it there, I see still managing to live through the apocalypse.
Yeah, well, and the pendulum swings, right?
Right.
So it might look, oh, this is really great. We're going to get rid of the PM role, parse that out. But when I was thinking about why species become endangered in the first place, it's because of two things: the loss of habitat and loss of genetic variation. So when it comes to the PM role, what's happening? Okay, so first let's talk about loss of habitat. I checked out the 2018 PMI commissioned talent gap analysis. This is something that I have used in the last 5 years for data. And this study points to huge opportunities in jobs and career growths for project managers. And in this study, they looked at 11 different countries, and through 2027, the project management oriented labor force in 7 project oriented sectors, healthcare, tech, et cetera, expected to grow by 33%, or 22 million new jobs. And then by 2027, employers they're forecasting will need 88 million individuals. And this is worldwide, not just in the US, but 88 million PMs for our project management oriented roles. So I don't think we're losing that habitat, even though wherever you're at, it might look like it. And then on the other hand, there's, when I'm talking about loss of genetic variation, I've seen we have the loss of age variation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that could have the potential, I think, Paul, to maybe raise the endangered status a little bit. That's because older PMs, they're aging out. So there's an attrition going on. They're retiring from the workforce, and this is real. And so we need project managers of all ages to help meet this forecasted demand and growth in the PM field. And I think there's a risk that younger people aren't interested. The younger generations aren't interested in project management. So if you're under 40 and you're listening right now, if you have an interest in project management, go get training and experience. Hit Paul and I up for some ideas. We can help you, because the jobs outlook for PMs is, I think, extraordinarily positive. The only way you can go is up. It's a lucrative field if you got your game on and get your training and your experience and you have a plan.
Well, and that'll give the genetic differentiation that you're looking for, right? To prevent extinction. Also, I think, a lot of things revolve around product management versus project management. And, I think it's important that people think through the differences between those. One becomes very operational, and the other is, as we've said, to run a temporary activity. So absolutely. I love that you talk about it from that extinction, genetic, and, and what was the other perspective?
Loss of habitat.
Loss of habitat. So I like the way you brought that around, and I think it applies well. And I think that you're right. If folks that are starting their career or mid in their career, tee up their game, you probably have the best opportunity to move forward in a lucrative career as just about anybody, as you can transition from healthcare to technology to neuroscience, whatever it is. There's always projects that need to have that skill set that we talked about. So that's awesome. That is very cool. I'm with you.
Okay.
We'll keep the project managers going. All right. So let's talk a little bit about what Love It or Lose It is, because we like this game. It's where our EP comes up with topics and gives Kelly and I the opportunity to say, do we love this topic as it relates to project management, or would we just as soon it went away with the dinosaurs? That's the one that goes extinct. And then a brief answer to why. So Katie, why don't you hit us up and tell us what we're looking at?
All right. Our first Love It or Lose It. Triple constraint or the iron triangle. Love it or lose it.
Okay, that could be a deep one. But my first inclination is to say lose it. The stuff that has driven project management success perceptions, these three things: scope, schedule, budget, sometimes quality is thrown in there in the middle. And it's been out there for a long time. And it's never just those four things. I mean, there's some merit, I think, to the concept, but and I'm not saying that scope, schedule, and budget dependencies are passé. I'm just saying it's 2022. So there's more to project success and project management than just looking at those factors. I mean, you've got to understand the impacts to those domains when you're making changes. But what about the people constraint, right? How many of us know that the minute that you log off My Project Hell and go out into your project, some stakeholder is going to pop up and say, hey, I've got some new improved scope change I want to make? Or is the people, I think those are a big factor too. So yeah, I say lose it. Let's talk about all the factors that matter and improve our agility and outcomes instead of the three worn out constraints.
The three worn out ones. Well, I'm with you on lose it, but I think for different reasons. I
Okay.
do agree. I do agree that, you know, they're worn out and tired. But I also believe that with technology, with creative problem solving, with applying some of the systems thinking or design thinking techniques for brainstorming, that we can get around a lot of these constraints. And quite honestly, at the end of the day, you can tell a senior VP, a CIO, you know, you get 2 of these, I get 1, you know, and then they're going to show you the door. You got to work with the fact that you're going to be asked to continually do more with less. How can you apply technology? How can you pull out wasted effort and utilize the things that your organization and your teams do well to accomplish those without overinflating other of the constraints?
Yeah, I think let's not measure and be, hardcore about these are our 3 success measures, right? And that this is going to be what we measure success on. Yeah. What's next, Katie?
All right, this one, I'm very interested to get your guys' take. Getting rid of the 9-to-5 work schedule, love it or lose it.
9 to 5, 40 hours a week. I remember my first part-time job. That was always fun, but it depends on your project. So I'm going to say lose it, because having worked data center migrations, for example, we work when customers are not using the applications in the system, which tends to be in the evenings and on weekends. But the reason we're doing that is still so we can all come together at those times, because it feels like when people say, I don't want to work the 9 to 5, they're saying, I don't want to work the 9 to 5. You guys can all work the 9 to 5. When it's a team effort, the team has to agree on what hours will we come together and how will we support each other as a team, as opposed to if you just stamp widgets all day long, and you can do that at any time. But I'm going to say for all the team activities and all the things that go into a project, you got to lose it. You got to work with the team.
Yep. I'm going to be boring and agree with you, Paul. So it's curious. Just a few days ago, I read an article in the Puget Sound Business Journal, which is our business journal here in Seattle. And there was a survey that they were quoting just recent, a 2022 survey that some company did, a bunch of people. And how do you like that for empirical evidence? But they found like around, it was over 60% of the people in the survey wanted a flexible schedule option. And this benefit was ahead of all the traditional benefits like vacation time, retirement. And so workers are demanding that they have not only the ability to work remotely, but that there's this flex schedule option. And that's what's valued. And so I think employers might need to start getting with it here and tuning into which benefits are valued and are that difference in retaining and attracting talent, because we know that there's this big attrition going on, right? And if you're going to enable growth, then I think senior leadership needs to get connected with reality on what employee values are. So start connecting the dots on being flexible. And I think those companies that do are going to be the winners with getting the talent.
Interesting. Okay.
All right, next one, project charters, love it or lose it.
Project charters. Well, I'm glad you asked this one, because I think unless you work for a super large company, maybe like Boeing, where left hand, right hand are very far apart, and we don't know what's getting authorized for project work, keep it, but otherwise lose it. And like with everything, a caveat. I mean, charters have their place in project management. Of course they do. But I've found that sometimes if you just get your solid project plan document together, it's got the same elements. A good statement of work can also serve as that charter. Maybe if you're a nonprofit, a grant can be folded into the project plan document and be that authorizing document. But I don't know, Paul, what do you think?
So again, I'm in agreement for all the different reasons. I would lose it because, and this may be where you were going, it feels like a lot of folks in the past have seen that as I do my project charter and I'm done, right? It's a stagnant document. Well, scope is not stagnant. Your resources are not stagnant. Your budget is not stagnant. And all of those start possibly when you're putting a charter, but they've got to go living throughout your project. I'm much more in line with developing the plans and then having a way to present those seamlessly to people. We use dashboards, right? We really like to be able to have more of a dashboard presentation of the scope, the schedule, the budget for anyone to look at, and then drill down into the details, and then it keeps getting updated throughout the project. The caveat, or where I think that it's still important, is on your demand intake, right? You need some way to frame up a project.
Yeah, like a business case.
Right. This is going to be bigger than a bread box. It's going to take roughly 9 months. It's going, here's why we're doing it, right? Being able to but that project charter that's there for intake is the start of the rest of your stuff. And really, it's just no different than you capturing a quick interview with your business stakeholders that want to justify why their project should be prioritized above others when you're in the intake process.
Yeah, I looked at that like the business case. I don't know. I think there's a difference, but it's like, don't create duplicative effort just for the sake of we have to have a charter because PMI says we have to have one, right?
Right. Yeah. I much rather see all the plans put together correctly and cared for, fed, and watered throughout the project. So I'm gonna lose I'm gonna lose the I'm gonna lose the one and done kind of concept.
All right. Giving 2 weeks notice, love it or lose it.
So giving 2 weeks notice when you're leaving?
Leaving a project? All right, well.
Leaving a job or a project? I guess it could be both.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Probably one and the same, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
For a consultant, it could be different, but yeah.
It's kind of so I want to lose it because I think that in this world that changes and now you're allowed to move from project to or job to job, project to project, it's still a small world, and you absolutely can work for a company for a year or two and move on to another company. But how you leave that company is what's important, because you're going to run into those same people a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road when you go for your next job, your next gig. And so that comes to, you want to be looking at what's my transition plan out of this project, rather than, here, I gave you 2 weeks. Sit down with your project manager or your team, your project owners, and go, I'm going to be leaving. How do we transition this so this project continues without missing a beat, and you guys can go forward? Work that, and I guarantee that next time it comes around that you're looking for a job or a gig, and one of these people is up for making that decision, you'll be right in.
So I completely agree. And that could be 3 days, or it could be 2 weeks, or it could be 4 weeks. So I'm on the lose it with this as well. In my mind, this is old mindset thinking. How about do the right thing with the job that you have? Take the high road, wrap it up with a bow the best you can. If you need to stay 4 weeks, I'm sorry about that, but you should then make sure it's all good before you put that organization in your rear view. If you have a few loose ends to wrap up and you can make a thoughtful transition in a handful of days, then then do that. I mean, I also think, Paul, if you're at a place where you have not been treated well, that factors in. That's a consideration in my mind. Why on earth do you feel you owe a company something when they've hardly considered you? And I know that, you know, you're thinking about the, what was it that you called it? The small world thing that could come back to bite you. But, you know, you have to weigh it. And I think that can be a consideration for some. But whatever you do, just set your boundaries with leaving, be thoughtful, be professional, get that transition plan. And then I think the 2 weeks thing just becomes a moot point.
Cool.
Right. Well, that's all we have time for.
All right.
Wow,
I
we're
see
wrapping up that quick.
Because
Well,
it is time to end this episode. So
it's interesting. I think we were in agreement for different reasons, right? But,
absolutely.
really just curiously noticing that there's a kind of that old mindset or old project management practices that maybe are in transition or changing, or different thoughts about how to use them. So anyway, thank you everyone for joining us today. It's time to wrap this up.
All right, because I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Kelly and I always have fun putting these together and talking with you. You can catch the replays of My Project Hell over on our YouTube channel, and you can always check out our website for more information. Feel free to hit up Kelly or myself for a free 30-minute consultation if you have any questions about what we talked about today or on your project and you want some guidance.
Come back in a few weeks. We're going to have a new hot topic for you. And what we're thinking about talking about is pros and cons of being a contract project manager. And we are hoping to feature a bold and brave project manager in our Coach's Corner. So that is all for now. Take care, everybody. Get back to your projects, and we'll see you next time on My Project Hell.
All right, thank you all.